Well, hello to all those that are listening out there and wherever you are. Welcome and happy Monday morning. We have today Dr. Karen Perkins, and I met her at a networking event from Network Together a couple of months ago, and
Yay.
we finally connected. And she has some very interesting perspectives, but her main thought was how thoughts become things. And so we want to welcome Dr. Perkins. I'm Becky Norwood with Spotlight Publishing, bringing those stories and that wisdom to the world in the most amazing of ways. So Dr. Karen, would you introduce yourself, what you're doing, what is this thing, your thoughts become things, and let's go from there.
Oh, well, the introduction is like 400 pages long because I am not young. Uh, However, right now I've got a movie coming out, How Thoughts Become Things, and I've got a lot of the same cast members from The Secret. And The Secret told the what and whys for the law of attraction. The how thoughts become things tells you the actions to take. And I'm really excited about that coming out. I am an emotional intelligence expert, cold reading, human behavior, all kinds of fun. In fact, you like this, Becky. I'm in the top 5 of organizational change manager coaches in the country. So I
Wow.
help people deal with the change and I help them, but it all comes down to the thoughts. Everything comes right back to your thoughts.
Well, there's a big time of change right now in our world, and some people are kind of just rolling with the flow of it all. Others are really struggling. And for those that are leaders in this world, it's such an important time to stand up and be the leaders that we need to be the force of change in the world. It's really, really important. So, I think there's a lot of us that saw that movie, The Secret, and I find it interesting that now it's the how and how it can affect us at a time like this, where it
Yeah,
isn't just our country, it isn't just our neighborhood, it's the whole world. The whole
right.
world is involved, and therein lies the difference of the impact that it has on our world. And I don't think our world will ever be the same.
I don't believe it will. And some of that is really actually for the good. And it's
Yes.
hard to see that right now, but it really is for the good. And they say it's the worst of times, but is it? Is it the worst of times or is it the best of times? Or is there a little bit of both? Now, the how, I find it interesting too that this is when it's coming out. We had no idea when we scheduled it to come out this spring that we were going to be facing all of this stuff. I had no idea whatsoever. But isn't it a miracle that at a time where people need to know what steps to make, here's a solution for them. This is telling them, how do you do this? What thoughts do you need to have? How do you have those thoughts? How do you have those thoughts consistently? And how do you make them be things that you truly believe in your heart? I mean, we all, well, many of us, I say all, but then I find out not everybody knows Napoleon Hill. It just shocks me always. But we all have heard something along the lines, but Napoleon's Hill quote is, what the human mind can conceive and believe, it will achieve. Well, what are we conceiving? And do we truly believe it? Saying it so isn't enough. You have to really believe it. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day who, when she was 8 years old, was sitting on the swing set and decided she wanted to live in a house on the beach. And she sat on the slide there in the swing set and she felt the cool breeze hitting her with a little bit of water in it. And she could smell the air. I mean, she really felt it. She imagined it fully. Well, she now has a beautiful home on the beach in Hawaii. And it was like not even a question, and it was easy to get. And it's because she conceived it, she really believed it, and then she actually achieved it. And I have to say, in times like this, let's face the elephant in the room first. People have lost family members, they've lost loved ones and friends, they've lost colleagues. People's companies have closed down, if not temporarily, possibly permanently. People are locked inside of their houses with their children.
Probably for the first
Oh
time, never this much
my.
time.
Yeah. And they're like, oh my gosh, they're driving me nuts. And guess what? You're driving your kids nuts too. Uh, but here's all these horrible things, and I want to address them. And I'm going to be a little sacrilegious. Is that okay, Becky?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I want to start with the death because that's going to be the one that's most offensive to some of you. And I apologize up front if you're offended by it. I cannot believe that any one of those people you lost, if they were standing next to you, would want you wailing and screaming and blaming the world and just being irritable. They would want you to live. They would want you to love. They would want you to look for the positive. They would. And if they wouldn't want that, quite honestly, did we want them here to begin with? And I know that's a horrible thing to say, but all of us want nothing but the best for the people we love. And
Right.
so if you're so caught up in having lost someone, I'm not saying don't grieve. Oh my goodness, grieve and grieve fully. Grieve and grieve fully. In my book, Emotional Power, I tell you, I call it RAFPoo. RAFPoo. You got to recognize you're having an emotion. You got to acknowledge it. Yep. Okay. I'm having an emotion. Acknowledge. Yes. This is the emotion I'm having. And then you got to feel it and feel it fully. Okay. You've lost someone. Grieve. You cry. You wail. You scream. You go get a punching bag and punch it. But don't do it for an extended period of time. And
Just
by
don't stay
extended,
there.
yeah, don't stay there. Don't be there 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, a year, 10 years. I cannot tell you, like teary-eyed, how many adults I have run into who are dead in their heart because they lost a sibling as a child and their parents couldn't get over the loss of that child, so they basically killed the other children in the household by ignoring them and by being so caught up in the fact that little Susie or little Timmy passed away. And here are these walking dead because you weren't able to let go and to love the living.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm telling you, feel it, but don't get caught there. Once you've felt it, now you can process it. Process it and say, what am I going to do with this? How am I going to use it or diffuse it? And that's the last step. You either use it to your benefit and the benefit of others, or you defuse it. I mean, anger, mothers against truck drivers, they were furious. Look at all the good they've done with that. They
Mm-hmm.
processed it and they used it. And I say this and I want to bring that out up front because that's part of your thoughts. We're told stuff your emotions, don't think about it, forgive and forget. Okay, I'm going to tell you forgive and refocus. You don't want to forget completely because if you do, you've set yourself up to go through it again,
Right.
but you don't focus on it. Grieve those that you've lost, grieve your business if you've lost it, but then refocus and say, okay, that's gone. What's my new path? What's the next thing? And it's funny because right now is the best of times because we're reconnecting with people. Your children, do you know your children and their talents? Did you know that your child played the guitar and they're good? Did you know they were interested in writing? Or were you just worried about them getting a B, C, or D in English? Did you know those things? It's time to reconnect with your customers, reconnect with your friends. Write love letters to your friends and family and mail them. Postal carriers are essential and we'll
Aw.
deliver them. I
That's
mean,
so
these are
important.
things. Go ahead.
Hmm.
Yeah.
These are so important because I think our world was going so fast that we've lost that touch. We don't take, oftentimes we just in the routine, go, 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 busy, busy, busy. And we don't often take the time to stop and just and be with our
Yeah.
families. I think this is probably a time where parents have never ever spent this much time with their own children, didn't know the things about their children, and then also with our own mates. I chuckle and I say that there's going to be either a lot of divorces or there's going to be a lot of babies coming up.
Yeah, one or the other, and
And
maybe
maybe
both.
both.
Well, and it's true. So let's look at the best of times. Okay. I've addressed the worst of times. Let's look at the best of times. We are forced into a period of creativity. I mean, we're forced into it. What better time to be creative and come up with new innovations that are going to propel us forward as an individual, as a business, as a nation, as a world? I mean, what better time? And as you said, what better time to reconnect? I mean, I have to say, I am guilty. I, for relaxation, enjoy working. Yes, I'm a freak in some cases. But my grandson came and is staying with me for a minute, and as I'm working at 10 o'clock at night, he just looked at me and he said, "Do you ever stop?" And I realized I don't. I don't. And it's been interesting because having people here basically 24/7,
It changes everything,
they're
doesn't
they're
it?
forcing me to stop, and I'm finding I'm accomplishing just as much.
Right.
I really am, but yet I'm reconnecting. I am reconnecting with myself. I'm reconnecting with them. I have time to actually study and learn new things. When was the last time you had time to sit down and read a good book that you loved without feeling some sense of guilt that you should be doing something for your business?
Well, the other side is that I work with a lot of authors, and actually, my business is going really well right now because people have the time to
Yeah.
get things done. And do you actually write those books that they've been wanting to write? Some of them have sat on the in the mind or the on the shelf for 10 years now.
Well, yeah.
Now's the time to say, "Wow, I actually have time to do this."
And Becky, I have to add, it's if you have a story, and you all do, then you must write it down. And if you have a hard time writing, put down the main thoughts. And I know Becky can help you find a ghostwriter. You're still writing the book, they're just putting the words in a way that it's understandable, because some of us have many talents and some writing is not one of them. But your story is still so valuable. It is through your words of wisdom. It is through your journal. It is through your path in life. It is through your history that others are going to learn. They're going to prevent having to go through it themselves. They're going to jump ahead and accelerate because you've showed them the way. And you're going to warm their hearts. And I don't care if it's a romance novel. Some of us need those from time to time. I
Right.
don't care if it's a sci-fi. Some of us need those fantasy. If it's a documentary, if it's a bibliography, if it's you know, fiction or nonfiction, it really doesn't matter. Those words, and I encourage everybody, go back to reading. Oh, for heaven's sakes. That is, when I'm reading is when I am most productive, when I am most creative, when I have the best relationships, because I have that relationship with me and my mind. And that reading is what helps my mind focus on the things it should, so that my thoughts can become things. And I don't know what things to think about if I don't know what's new out
You got to
there.
fill it up with the good stuff. It's the sharing of our wisdom, our stories with the world. And I always say that if you can even impact just one life, then what more can you be grateful for?
Yeah.
And yet,
Amen.
and typically we impact many lives, and it's really important because otherwise because of the way that world has gone prior to this, with all the busy and everything, the storytelling has stopped to a large extent.
Yeah.
With especially when you go out to dinner and you see an entire family sitting around, nobody's conversing, everybody's on their, you know there's no
And they're
conversation
talking to the
happening.
person sitting next to them.
Yeah.
That's what kills me. My kids will sit across the room, and I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Just say it. Oh, we don't want everybody to hear it. Then you shouldn't be saying
Shouldn't
it.
be saying it.
Go in the other room and say it
Right.
quietly. But yeah, no, we've lost the skill of communicating in a big way. And I mean, we are communicating, but the skills have definitely begun to waver. in a way that really is conducive. Writing is beautiful, and books and stories, but text messaging, it's not even a whole sentence. And I'm nothing against text messaging. If you want to get a hold of me, best thing to do is text me. I'll see that. Phone calls I may not get because it goes to an answering service. Emails, as Becky and I have discovered, don't always get through. I have an email troll that eats them. I don't know why. But I mean, text me. I love text, but I don't love to do my full communication through them. And, that's one of the things that I teach are, the 4 basic personalities, the animals. And it's how do you communicate with somebody so that they understand? And, Stephen Covey's 5th habit, seek first to understand, then to be understood. That means I have to speak in the way you hear, and I have to listen in the way you speak. And at this time, we have to practice that. We're with all of these people in our houses. We have to practice that. We're with people that are not in our houses. We really have to practice that because it's no longer face to face. And so it's a big thing. And how do our thoughts change that?
That's what
You care.
yes. And this is the key, is the thoughts. How do we bring our thoughts? Sometimes we can call it stinking thinking.
Stinking thinking.
And when you catch yourself, maybe you've had a series of things that have gone on, and you find yourself thinking on things that they don't serve well. They don't. But how do you switch that? How do you get it to a different place where the thoughts are powerful and they transform your life and the lives of others?
Okay, can I give a quick story and then give you some scientific things?
The beauty of storytelling.
Okay. Quick story. All right. I have what I call mental mind shifts. And you have to have them on purpose. Every once in a while, they happen accidentally. But you have to have a mental mind shift. And I'm going to go back to the science first and then tell the story. What happens is your thoughts flow through the amygdala, itty bitty bitty teeny tiny pinhead here in your brain. The amygdala then assigns it its emotion and its physical reaction. Okay? So emotion and physical reaction. The thing most people don't understand is that opposite emotions have the same physical reaction. Excitement, fear. Excited, your heart palpitates, you get butterflies, your throat gets tight, your palms get sweaty. What happens when you're scared? Your heart pounds, you get knots in your stomach. Your exact same thing. We just look at it different. So if you're not liking the way you feel, ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? And stop it. Yeah, easier said than done. If you like the way you feel, ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? And keep repeating those types of thoughts. And I'll go into another scientific way to do that in a moment. But a mental mind shift I had many years ago. And I have to tell you, I laughed so hard at myself. I'm driving down the freeway. I think most of us have done this. You look in the rearview mirror, you look over your shoulders, you look in the side, you look over, nobody's there, so you go to change lanes. And what happens? Undoubtedly, somebody is there. And they honk and they wave, and usually they don't wave with all hands and
with
and
expression.
I'm so embarrassed. So I hurry and get back in my own lane. And I'm going, I'm sorry, all fingers, and okay, everything's up. Okay, so all fingers going, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. I was horrified. I was so embarrassed that I had cut that person off. Just was not on purpose at all. And I'm driving, and if it hadn't happened as quickly as it had, I don't know that I would have had my mental shift. Some moron cut me off, and I'm going, idiot, moron, who taught you how to drive? I'll bet they're as embarrassed as I just was. And so I had that mental mind shift. Now when people cut in front of me, I go, oh, how embarrassing. And I let it go. I'm calm when I get where I'm going. I don't think the world's out to get me. I don't think everyone on the road is a moron and an idiot. So I'm calmer. And guess what? I see those cars that are going to cut me off better than I did before because I'm relaxed. I'm calm. And I slow down and I let them in. So what? If I let in 5 cars, I'm still only 2 cars behind where I would have been at the off ramp.
Right.
Does it matter? But a simple thing. I'll bet they're as embarrassed as I was. So instead of thinking idiot, moron, or calling them a name, which I've heard a lot of people do, besides idiot and moron, um, I'm like, oh, how embarrassing. So how do we do that on purpose and remember to change the thought? I have to do it this year. I'm trying to see where we can see. If you're having a thought or somebody saying something and you just need to rethink it, just pull the bottom, tug your ear a little bit. We call these pattern interrupts. But the ear one I like because pulling on your ear, you can even just rub it. But touching your earlobe actually causes a chemical reaction that slows the heart rate, improves the blood flow to the brain, and changes the oxygen, or not the oxygen, but the peptides and the chemicals in your brain. It calms you down.
How
And when you're
interesting.
calm, when you're calm, you can say, that is not a thought I want. Rethink it. But it's a pattern interrupt. I mean, you see people, oh, and I have one. This is just because I picked it up, really. But, they flip this. Why do they flip that? Pattern interrupt. Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah, I got to take that off. It was on the floor and I picked it up. But pattern interrupt. I do a fun thing in one of my presentations on thoughts and how to block and shield yourself and protect yourself from other people's thoughts and their words and things. And I made little shields that are Captain America shields, and just little ones that fit on the arm. And it's like, protect, deflect, reject. Protect, deflect, reject. And you can do it to yourself too. Okay, protect myself, reject that thought, and protect or deflect it altogether. A thought I would like everybody to put down is a daily affirmation. And please write this down. I repel all negativeness of my own and of others. I repel all negativeness of my own and others. Now, what happens when you repeat something enough? You think it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And when you say it, you think it, right? I have literally witnessed people who were in jobs where they dealt with the angry customers day in and day out make that one of their daily affirmations. And every day they say several times, I repel all negativeness of my own and of others. And if they got an extremely hostile customer in front of them, they silently say, I repel negativeness of my own and of others. And guess what happens? That other person calms right down and their negativity pretty much goes away. And it calms them down so they're not reacting to, well, they're
It's
not
so easy
reacting.
to react, right?
They're acting instead of reacting. And what that comes down to thoughts. I believe, I think, I know. But your thoughts, how do they change things? I had four wonderful experiences in the last month. My transmission blew up. I was in Mexico when the border locked. I had to pay $5,000 to fix my transmission. And then 2 days later, a buck decided to dance with the front end of my car. I just paid $5,000 to fix a new transmission in. You know what? It was not a big deal. I was calm. Transmission went, oh, well, I can't change it, so why freak out about it? Let's just figure out what we can do. And, here's a testimonial for Network Together. I met that very next day, Eric, at one of the chapters, who works at Friendly Auto. And he says, well, gosh, if your car were here, we could fix it right up. And I went, oh, so we towed it there. And then I met Steve from Network Together, who owns Friendly Auto. Picture of everything, a miracle. When I went to look at a car because I didn't know if I wanted to fix it, he lined me up with somebody to go with me for free that knew all about cars, knew about the salesman. He actually trains the salesman. Who does that? Miracle, miracle, miracle. I was in Mexico. Actually, I was in Mexico and I had to go back the second day when they locked the border. All the people in front of us, all the people behind us got harassed. We just went right through. Okay, go ahead. And then I had to go back the next day and I thought, oh no. And I had to, it was not an option. So we went back and thinking, what's going to happen. But I went, it's going to be fine. I thought it was going to be fine. What do I need to do? How am I going to make this fine? Well, I think it's going to be fine. I know the actions I have to take is to carry myself as though it is fine. How?
Big difference, isn't it?
Carry yourself. I got in, did what I had to do, got out. The people before us and after us got harassed. In fact, one person before us got taken aside in cuffs because they shouldn't have been. And it's like, oh, we went to, they got our passports. They went, have a great day. And we went on our way.
That's
On our way. We hit the deer. What was my first thought? Oh, I hit a deer. I hope he's okay. Seriously. That was my first thought. My grandson started to laugh at me and he says, you realize that the engine smoking? And I went, oh no, that's just the radiator. I've been practicing thinking like, but you know what the miracle is there? We were in the middle of nowhere. We ended up on 89A. That's a whole nother story. 89A, there are 100 miles between every city that has 6 people in it. And a half a mile before we hit the deer and a half a mile after, there was no internet service. Guess what was right where we hit the deer? Internet. We were able to call AAA and get towed. Miracle, miracle, miracle. And here's the fun one.
It all depends on how you think about it, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, it would give you, it would cost them $217 more to fix my car than they valued it at. So they totaled my car. Yes, one I just paid $5,000 for. They also valued it at about $3,000 more than I would have. Don't tell the insurance company. I was able to basically recoup most of that $5,000, put a down payment down, and I went out and got me an Infinity. Yay! So the car gods were saying, Karen, go get yourself a new car. Guess what? I finally listened and I got a new car. What a miracle. I wouldn't have if I hadn't hit that deer. I wouldn't have. Yeah. It's just the way it is. And it's so funny because I see all these miracles because I think there are miracles and I look for miracles. And that's the difference. When you think there's going to be, you look for them. Your mind is compelled. Your subconscious is so protective of you. It is bound and determined to prove you right. So if you think the world's falling to hell in a handbasket, it will find all the bad things going wrong and it will focus on them.
It will make sure it happens.
It'll make sure it happens. If you think, you know what, things are bad. I'm not saying deny things are bad. Acknowledge them. Things are rough. I have a heavy heart, but I choose to be happy. I choose to focus on the miracles. I'm going to look for miracles. Oh my gosh, you will see miracle, 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 miracle. You'll have things happen you didn't think would happen and that would not have happened if you'd been all focused in the doom and gloom. Wouldn't have happened.
That's beautiful. I think we need to have a weekly daily shot of positive here. Maybe that's what we'll do. I think that would be awesome.
Well, you know what? And we're just redoing my website. I will get you the link so that you can give it to all your listeners. But I'll give you a link to one of my audios. I have a bunch of, I'm a hypnotherapist. Did you know that?
No, okay. I didn't.
So I'm a certified hypnotherapist. I also do stage hypnosis, which is a lot of fun. 2 different things. But I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and I've got a lot of, we call them mind hacks, self-hypnosis CDs and things. But one of them I have is just daily positive affirmations. And I will get you the link to that so that you can give it to all your listeners.
That would be awesome.
I would give you the landing page, but we literally are right in the middle of redoing everything. So I don't know what that landing page is. But I think that is. Everybody needs a burst of positive every day.
Awesome.
Every day.
This has been a delightful conversation. Totally love it. And I will reconnect with you after this is over. But for those that have listened or will be listening to this, take some time to really enjoy this presentation. Dr. Karen Perkins has got a real good handle on how thoughts become things, and using all the tools that we have at our disposal, using this time to just really grow and be the the impactful influencers we can be in our world. Each one of us have a role that is important for us to take on and make a difference for others. Karen, this has been awesome. Thank you.
Becky, you are awesome. And I have to say one more time, folks, get your story out there. You do not know whose life you're going to save with your story. You just don't. And I've seen it happen over and over and over again. I see those miracles. So be part of that miracle. Get your story out. And like I said, I know Becky will get you help if you just don't know where to begin. So
thank you.
Get with her.
Awesome. Very good. And thank you very much. And I'll end the book. In